Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Cross-Chain Insider, a weekly roundup of all news traveling across chains, brought to you by Li.Fi. I'm Mark, a member of the BizDev team and holder of worthless JPEGs. My GigaBrain co-host is Arjun, the jack of all trades and master of everything here at research or of protocols. And Arjun, what else do
The
you do?
occasional member of the sales team.
Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, so as usual, Arjun published the Cross-Chain Insider earlier as a regular old newsletter, and we are here to bring it to you in podcast form. Okay, as normal, Arjun, can you start with our bridging updates over the last couple days?
Yeah, so a lot of things going on in the bridge world. And let's start with some big news coming from LI.Fi. So Alchemix has decided to expand its services to multiple chains. So Alchemix is like one of the most unique and innovative projects on Ethereum. And they've now decided to expand to Phantom, Arbitrum, and Optimism in the near future. And they've decided to do this by integrating the LI.Fi SDK. So going multi-chain was like always a part of Alchemix roadmap, and to expand its services to Phantom, they chose multi-chain and LI.Fi, which is a bridge index aggregator. We've had multi-chain integrated into our stack since like November 2021, and this enabled us to basically support Alchemix tokens right away. And so they've basically decided to integrate the SDK, and now they can support bridging their tokens between Ethereum, Phantom, and Arbitrum, and maybe Optimism soon. And up next, we have the Hop airdrop. So eligible users can basically now start claiming their airdrop and choose a delegate to represent them in governance. So this happened like 2 or 3 days ago. The price is not at the same level, unfortunately. But yeah, so if you still haven't claimed, you can do this now, and there's a link in the Substack version of the newsletter. Next, we have like a bridge tool. So this is like a new cross-chain bridge search tool called BridgeDex, and it was launched by Julia Wu. So BridgeDex is like Pokédex. It is a knowledge base for bridges, and it is a simple tool to search for bridges based on a source chain and a destination chain. So it's very simple and user friendly. And all you have to do is select the source chain and the destination chain. And you can also like choose a token. So this basically allows you to get access to all the routes and information about bridges that connect them. So you can learn more about bridge type, fees, duration, TVL of the bridge, and also the 24-hour transactions of the bridge if that's available. So very interesting tool. I've been playing around with it for the last week. And next we have Ren Bridge 3.0, which is now live. And Ren was like the one of the early runners in the building bridges section. And now they've introduced Ren Bridge 3.0, which supports over 25 plus assets on seven different chains. And so the unique thing about this is it will support wrapping stablecoins and generic tokens to other chains, and they will do this by bridging Ren assets between chains in just one step. So this is made possible because Ren can now mint and release generic tokens, and they call this feature the host to host, like H2H, and this adds like bridging support for almost any asset on all blockchains supported by Ren. Up next, we have a proposal to update Stargate's fee. So this proposal is titled Value Accrual for SDG Stakers, and it is now live for voting. So STG needs to give holders like utility and functionality for the token. And this is kind of the first step in that direction. So anyone who has VSDG can now cast their vote on the snapshot. And this is particularly interesting for me because it brings up the topic of bridge tokenomics. And this is like a research topic that has not been explored deeply yet. And with all the token launches like Hop and Next, it will be interesting like how these tokens actually accrue value. To wrap it up, we have two audits from Nomad and Connext. So Nomad, they've completed their audit by Quantstam, and they also have an ongoing bug bounty on Immunify worth $1 million. Connext, they have a code arena contest going on, And so any cybersecurity professional can find bugs in Connext next upgrade, which is called Amarok, and they can compete for the $115,000 USDC prize pool. And the contest ends on June 19th. So it's always good to see audits as it shows that bridges are tightening up on security. And it's good to end on that note because security is very important.
Yep. And so moving on to the next section of the podcast, we go into the just kind of basic multi-chain updates. So first update, we just spoke about audits. This is not quite as fun, but Osmosis, the biggest AMM on Cosmos by TVL, was kind of exploited for $5 million over the last week before being the chain being halted by validators. I think there was some drama on who exploited Osmosis, but we won't cover that here. But pretty much, it was a crazy bug where anyone who added liquidity to a pool could take out 50% more than they put in. So it was literally free money. You put in, $5, you can take out $7.50. So that's never good when you're building out a platform. Next, we have Circle announcing support for Polygon USDC. So USDC on Polygon and backed by Circle. Interestingly enough, if you go read the documentation, Arjun, did you read this documentation when I sent it to you?
Not yet.
Yeah, exactly. No one reads the documentation. You go read this. It's a very interesting document. I think anyone who uses USDC should check it out. About bridged USDC, it's point number 1. Bridged USDC is not USDC. Okay. The only USDC that Circle is mainnet Ethereum USDC. So thought this was a pretty interesting little documentation thing to know.
It's good that they've made it clear, put it out separately in bold.
Yeah, except it's not on their. It's not in their announcement, right? Interesting. Anyways, I love USDC. I don't want to. Don't take this if you're listening to this as if this is a bad thing. I just thought it was interesting that their documentation literally said in bold and underlined, bridged USDC is not USDC. So I thought the viewers should know that. Next, we have kind of the an interesting thing is that Pocket Network added support for Moonbeam and Moon River. So that's pretty big. Next, the Optimism team sending 20 million OP tokens to the wrong Wintermute address. So Wintermute is a market maker for the OP token. What happened is they sent essentially tokens to an address that Wintermute did not actually have access to on an L2. Is that correct, Arjun?
Yeah, so they tested it out within mainnet address. And of course, we think that the mainnet address should be the same as the layer 2 address. But apparently the Gnosis Safe wallet that the Wintermute team had access to was an old wallet. So this functionality was not there. So the address was different and the attacker was basically able to snoop in and take access of the wallet.
Yep. And as usual, I read the documentation. So let's read through the documentation here. I thought the Optimism team in their postmortem gave out some really good points. So anyone pursuing a cross-chain strategy, here's what Optimism is recommending. First of all, do not assume that address control between L1 and L2 is always guaranteed. Okay, if you use older smart contract wallet addresses or wallets, it may not be automatic to match on L1 and L2. Number 2, Ethereum is a dark forest. Whatever can be front run will be front run, meaning if you mess up, a bot will steal your money. So don't ever think that you can outsmart the bots. You can't. The bots will get you. And then number 3, Multi-chain introduces new considerations and issues app developers need to be careful. This will not be the first time we see an issue where someone sends tokens to an address that they thought they held on another L2, even though they didn't. So anyways, pretty interesting topic. The Optimism team was very forthright in their mistake, at least their own postmortem. Wintermute is offering to buy back the tokens at market value. So, it was a mistake, but I feel like both sides handled it very maturely. Moving on, the Ropsten testnet merged successfully. And so this was the first public testnet of Ethereum to go through the merge. So that's big news. Coming up next, I think there's 2 more testnets left for them to test. Next, we have Chain Live on Avalanche. Specifically, we have Keepers and the Chainlink VRF going live. So the Chainlink Keepers are going to help with smart contract automation, essentially. And the VRF is for generating random numbers. Both are pretty technical. We're not going to go into the weeds, but as always, go read the documentation. They actually did a great job explaining what Keepers and the VRF will do for Avalanche developers. The nitty-gritty details of smart contract execution, then go check it out. Lastly, in this section we have something that I'm very excited to test out. I haven't tested it out yet, but Near protocol is the first non-EVM compatible chain that is now compatible with MetaMask. So users no longer need to create a separate wallet to explore Near. They can just use MetaMask, and it's pretty slick. Based on the videos, I haven't checked it out. Have you tried it yet, Arjun?
No, but I think this is great. This is a great strategy for any new ecosystem because everyone has a MetaMask, right? So yeah.
Everyone and their grandma has a MetaMask, and I love Ren Bridge. I've told you this before. I don't think I've told the viewers before, but I have a strong love for Ren Bridge. So I'll be interested to see what the workflow is with MetaMask when you're bridging from Ethereum to Near.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that is it for that section of the podcast. As I said, Arjun writes this up nice and neat. Bridge updates. Then I did, here we go, the multi-chain ecosystem updates. In the next section is what's popping on Twitter. Arjun, what is popping on Twitter?
Yeah, so this week's story is about the ApeCoin community, which has voted to stay within the Ethereum ecosystem. So a quick recap on what the vote was all about. So in early May, there was the other side land NFT mint by Yuga Labs. And this basically, the mint made Ethereum temporarily unavailable. And it had unusable, basically, not unavailable. And this fees skyrocketed, and Yuga Lab tweeted about being sorry for turning off the lights on Ethereum for a while. So they suggested that they would migrate the ape community to a layer 1 blockchain with higher transaction throughput and low fees. And after this, there was a lot of discussion everywhere basically, and there were a lot of ecosystems basically proposing why their ecosystem is better suited to host the community. And Avalanche and Immutables teams went all guns blazing, and they pitched their features, their incentives and everything. So the ApeCoin community, they conducted a vote titled Keep ApeCoin Within the Ethereum Ecosystem. And more than 7.1 million ape tokens held by over 800 DAO members voted on the proposal. So over 53% of the voters, they voted for keeping the project within the Ethereum ecosystem. So to me, this showed that there's no doubt that the future or the present is multi-chain, but Ethereum still remains second to none. And there are many benefits of Ethereum security and decentralization. And even L2s are kind of leveraging that, right? And they are now a viable option for projects to start building on because they can offer Ethereum security, but at the same time, they can like counter the limitations of Ethereum, such as like high fees and like slower transactions. And votes like these, they show that it's still very valuable to stay within the ecosystem, even though we've seen like so much development all around multiple chains. And yeah, so it feels like there's a long way still to realize like a truly multi-chain future because of these concerns about like, okay, are other ecosystems actually as secure as Ethereum or not? But yeah, I think that we still have a very long way to go when we like actually have everything on the same level playing field.
So I have some thoughts on this.
Mhm.
Is that surprising that I have some thoughts on this?
Not at all.
So first of all, I thought this was a very well thought out proposal from, because it differentiated between Yuga Labs, which is the team that has created Bored Ape Yacht Club, Mutant Ape Yacht Club, the other deed mint, and all that other great stuff, and ApeCoin. This proposal was only about moving ApeCoin to a different chain. It wasn't about taking the whole entire Yuga Labs universe to another chain. And I thought it was very smart of ApeCoin. One of the biggest arguments was that if ApeCoin decided to move to a new chain, right, Labs wouldn't be as incentivized if they're going to continue to use Ethereum to utilize ApeCoin, because then they have to essentially make Yuga Labs a cross-chain business, which they hinted at, but like if it's not their plan, like if ApeCoin just goes out and decides like, hey, we're going to launch on Polygon, and Yuga Labs for some reason internally doesn't like Polygon, then there's this disconnect that I think ApeCoin did a really good job of making sure that's not going to happen. I do think there's going to be a next conversation about like what happens when you. Yeah, I do think Yuga Labs will at some point move off of Ethereum, but I think ApeCoin is very smart to force Yuga Labs to make that decision. Holders who are going to be much more retail centric, making that decision before Yuga. So again, very fascinating, and like the fact that just some like random person on the internet can throw this proposal out there and get likes, comments from like actual Yuga Labs team members and like ApeCoin DAO board seats is awesome. So those are my thoughts.
It's also like the entire community coming together and weighing their opinion on if we should go cross-chain, multi-chain, go away from Ethereum or not. So it kind of shows what the actual users are thinking.
Yeah, and last thing I'll say on this, I already clicked on the next slide, but that's okay. I find it fascinating thinking about the difference between taking a token cross-chain and taking an NFT project cross-chain.
And not even an NFT project, right? So it's taking an NFT project, and the third layer is taking the entire universe cross-chain.
Yep. And so I think to me, like taking an NFT project or a metaverse type project to a new chain and doing like an Avalanche subnet or something like, or launching their own chain makes a lot of sense. Now, moving the token cross chains, I just don't really get the purpose of that yet. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
So the second last portion of the podcast, we give out some content recommendations. We'll start with 2 recommended reads from Arjun and then 2 from me. Arjun, what you got?
Yeah, so first up, I have a thread on security in the multi-chain world. And this comes on the back of the event that you just talked about, the 20 million OP tokens, which were sent to the wrong Wintermute address. So I think you kind of covered it in the documentation by the Optimism team, but this thread like goes into the nitty-gritties of everything. So they kind of mentioned how developers need to be aware of what they're doing multi-chain. So this thread talks about exactly what they should be looking out for. And yeah, so it's like it goes into the details about why addresses on Ethereum and Optimism were different and how the attacker basically managed to get hold of the funds. And importantly, it talks about how something like this can be avoided. So this one is for the developers out there who were kind of wondering what really happened and how it can be avoided. And next up, I have an article titled Mental Models for L1 and L2s. And it talks about the architecture and goal for layer 1 and layer 2 systems. So the thing I really liked about this piece was that it goes into details about trust assumptions across all these L2s and L1 systems. And it also covers like bridging in layer 2s, which is a relatively like less explored topic. So it talks about the mechanism that's used for bridging, the trust assumptions that we need to take care of, and like what the entire system looks like. So I think it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, and just on another note, Mirror is fantastic. Like the UX. I'm
Yeah,
a
it's
huge
pretty cool.
fan. I'm a huge fan. For those of you out there who haven't tested out Mirror, it's kind of like a Web3 publishing platform. It's a Web3 version of Mirror. Check it out. So for my two recommended reads, the first one is by Hasib Qureshi. He wrote about Axelar. It was kind of a medium dive. It was only an 8-minute read. We'll call it a medium dive. I thought it was really good. So the second half of the article really dove into the specifics of Axelar, which is an arbitrary data messaging bridge. It's pretty cool. Definitely check it out. But the first half is what had me interested. Arjun, why did it have me interested? Can you guess?
Because it like relates bridges to banks, and we've been talking about that.
I feel like we got front run by this article, honestly. We've been talking about bridges as banks like for 3 podcasts now. And now he wrote the article and he can take the credit for it. And we're just over here pretending like we came up with the idea first. Now it stinks. We should have put the idea on a blockchain. The podcast was on a blockchain. We
So
would have
like
it.
so as soon as you sent this article to me and I saw like the images and everything, and I was like, okay, he's talking about bridges as banks. So I basically ran to check the details he went into. And I was like, can we still do an article or not? And we probably will at some point.
Yep, we definitely need to go over it. But essentially, Asib makes the case for anytime you have uh, a custodian in between one chain and another, it's more of a bank than a bridge. And so when I mean a custodian, it means like if you lock your contracts on one chain and you trust, this group of, 19 to 50 individuals to, um, you know, maybe when you move it over.
Those are
Um,
very specific numbers again.
yeah, I don't know where I came up with those.
Yeah.
But he says that bridges are more like banks right now. And then he makes the case for why Axelar is not like a bank. So you can read his article, see if you agree with him. Lastly, on the content recommendation side is we have a probably the biggest brain article here. Actually, we have two pretty big brain articles this week with the smart contract
Mhm.
thread. Then we have this article on building cross-chain zaps. That is XA. Don't know how I feel about that being pronounced zaps. I wanted this. I guess it's better. Like when I was
Exams.
thinking X apps. Well, I was thinking, what would you call a cross-chain app? And I thought like craps, and craps is a bad craps is a bad name.
So that's crap.
Yeah, it's crap. Wow, this is getting really technical. This is like a super technical article, and I just spent the first 30 seconds promoting it about craps. This is why Arjun's never going to invite me on burning bridges. It's just going to be you. He's going to hear this craps idea. I'm never going to be invited. But anyways, the article it kind of talks about moving from multi-chain to cross-chain at the top, and I thought this was very very interesting because this is something I've been thinking about a lot. And so Arjun, difference between multi-chain and cross-chain. I'm gonna use the Connext article and tell the readers, viewers, because like it fascinates me.
Let's
Difference
go.
between okay, here we go. So the cross-chain paradigm, according to Connext, is number one, you unify the interface. So you build one place where you can do things on multiple chains. So favorite thing in the world is like going to yield farm, right? And I'm on a yield farmer and it says, oh, multi-chain protocol, I host Polygon, Avalanche, and BNB chain, right? And I go on their DApp and I'm like, oh, I'm ready to be stupid and put $1,000 into some sort of vault here. And then I have to go click the arrow at the top right, drop down, and check out all three platforms at different times. Like they don't have Avalanche, Polygon, BNB chain just in one interface. It's 3 different interfaces. I hate it, burning passion. Going from multi-chain to cross-chain, you eliminate that and you can just show all the yields on all chains in one. It'll be delightful. Number 2, you abstract the home chain. Okay, that means people don't know where they're starting from, where they're ending. You just abstract away that from the end user. And then lastly, an X call to route transactions to any chain. So this is Connext specific. So we'll give them their due because this is a great article. So you can use Connext to let users call to any receiving chain in a single step. And you can directly connect your contracts to one another. So to, if you're a retail user out there, that probably sounds like a bunch of, hogwash, but to like developers, that's gold. Anyways, if you're looking to learning about crypto, you should definitely check out this article. It talks about some ideas to build X apps, and then it actually goes into some code down here, which I was thrilled to read. It's been a while since I've checked out any type of code. It's not loading. So it looks like this blank area is supposed to be some code. Okay. Arjun, it's the last part of the podcast. It's actually my favorite part of the podcast. It's when you give me your hottest, spiciest opinion.
It's not really like the hottest or spiciest always, but it's always like what I'm thinking about this week.
Well, okay. Can you make it at least a little bit spicy?
I mean, I'm already thinking about it, so I can't change it now. But yeah, so this week I'm kind of thinking a lot about aggregators and the aggregation theory in general. So I'm obviously still in my beginning stages of my thoughts here, and so this is kind of related to Li.Fi being a bridge and DEX aggregator, and I want to learn about how aggregation works and things we need to look out for and improve as an aggregator. So I think we've talked about this idea within the team, like there should be stuff like. Actually, I don't want to say it. I'll write about it later. But yeah, so there's a lot of fine details that go around in the world of aggregators, and I want to dive deep into the theory of how aggregation works and things we kind of need to look out for and improve.
Yeah. So we'll put this on the recommended reads list. Wrote a great research piece on aggregation, which I will send to you after this. I was also talking with Philip. This is some internal Li.Fi alpha here for anyone still listening at minute 31 here, I think. Like a podcast series where you have Philip, someone from 1inch, someone from Gym.xyz. You just have them all on to talk about how they're aggregating, DEXs, aggregating bridges, aggregating NFT marketplaces, and just talk about what the end user experience we're trying to build is. I think it would be a fascinating conversation. So maybe we'll try to make that happen at some point.
Yeah, so that's kind of also my thought process, because it's I want to read about aggregation theory in general, and then go into the specifics of all these different niche in crypto, like DEXs, bridges, NFTs, and see what theory actually matches and how they're doing stuff differently and what we can learn from the other sectors.
As for my section of the spicy take, I really don't have a spicy take this week. I'm sorry. I think I burnt all my spicy takes, yelling about blockchain bridges 2 weeks ago, and now it's Hasib wrote about it, and my thunder's been stolen. I don't have anything left. I yelled so loud that I think maybe what I said.
Correct. He's listening to you forever. Right.
Yeah, he heard a ghost. He's like, blockchains are bridges. Blockchains. Anyways, I'll say the Li.Fi team, at least a couple of us, were at Consensus in Austin this week. It's a great time. And I know, look, we're recording this. We're seeing very, very, very low prices. I'm here to report that people are still building, and I meet a lot of cool people. And I am just super confident that there's technology and infrastructure being built in the crypto space right now that will, at some point, make prices turn the corner. So that's my hot take.
Fingers crossed.
Maybe fingers crossed. If you're having a tough time with prices, go out, touch some grass, text a friend, tag Li.Fi in a tweet. We'll like it. Do you have anything else, Arjun?
Nope. I think we can wrap it up.
All right, we're wrapping it up. Episode of the Cross-Chain Insider. For more info, be sure to subscribe to the Cross-Chain Insider on Medium. You should also check out Li.Fi. That is Li.FI. We're building the ultimate cross-chain money Lego. You can check us out on Twitter at Li.Fi Protocol, or you can join us on Discord, where we are a good hang. And with that, we're out.